Let's go. Welcome to the show. It's Project Open Mic. Let's get the show off right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here with me. Cause it's Project Open Mic. Let's have a good show tonight. Let's get a topic straight. Let's get things good. Let's do everything that we should. It's Project Open Mic. Let's get the show off right. Let's open our minds and take out our style. Let's see what's going on in the world tonight. It's Project Open Mic. Let's have a good show tonight. It's Project Open Mic. Let's get the show off right. It's Project Open Mic. Let's have a good show tonight. It's Project Open Mic. Let's get the show off right. It's Project Open Mic. Let's have a good show tonight. It's Project Open Mic. Let's get the show off right. It's Project.
Alright, and what is going on, everybody? Hope you all are doing well. This is another episode of Project Open Mic. Hope you guys are doing good. Another Thursday, all kind of stuff's going on. First of all, I want to thank everybody for joining in, giving me your mind, your ears, your eyes on what's going on in the world today. And I'm your host, Tig, for Project Open Mic. I'll put my beautiful face on the screen. Hope you guys are doing well. So basically, tonight tonight's topic is basically called third party, wanted third party. So we'll get into that. But again, remember, check down there. Hope you guys are having a good night. Go and check out any place that has a description. You check out the link tree to all other things. If you want to watch this live on videos, every Thursday we have a show which you're watching right now. Is on YouTube at Project Mic. You can see below there, Project Open Mic at YouTube.com. You can also catch it at Rumble, Locals as well, and for local. Also, you can catch it on Facebook, Twitch TV. Again, when you see this right here, you know you're in the right spot. iHeartRadio as well. But speaking of iHeartRadio, if you also want to catch this for audio or listen later on, they want to share people with audio wise and everything, we're on Spotify, we are on Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Stitcher, Pandora. We're on all any platform you want. Nico Live, You Now. Hey, wherever you can, we're there. So I want to thank y'all for joining me tonight. So as we learn, in this week, of course, the Iowa caucus had already happened. New Hampshire just happened. Of course, Donald Trump, the president, former president of the United States, won by a big margin. Could have been bigger, but we'll get to that. And like I said, we are going further into what's going on into the election year. This might be one election year where it is the general election will be more out than usual. So, but it is a very important election year because we're going to be talking about all kinds of things. We're going to be talking about safety, crime, money, immigration, everything. And that's why I wanted to do this show about the parties. Now, there's a lot of people out there that I've said it before. When they learn about the political parties, they think of something or they've been force-fed certain things. Again, I am upfront and I'm not gonna sugarcoat nothing to you. And I'm gonna call a spade in what we're talking about tonight. I'm a registered libertarian. That is what I am. Just to let anybody know what it is. I'm a libertarian. When I came to America, mainland America in 2000, I was registered Democrat. But I changed my affiliation after the 2012 elections. I was, let's say, Democrat. Then you could say, and then I was non-disclosed. I didn't really think after 2004. Sorry, I was not that because I didn't, and trust me, I have problems with a lot of these politicians. But just to give you a reference to see, so you know where I'm coming from. And I'll point this out, like I always point out with most people. I'll say it here. There's no such thing as unbiased. Okay, if you live past your age, like 6, 7, when you figure out stuff, and you say you're gonna be biased, we're gonna have an objective view, an objective conversation about the political parties. Yes, I have my biases, and so do you, and so do I. And I'm not trying to hit I'm not trying to hit to change you too much or whatever. I'm just telling you the history of it because this year is very important. What's going on in the world today, and November is going to be a very important month where it's going to be crazy. Is it going to be some crazy stuff happening on? Yes. And as I got pointed out before, this is the year of ripping the Band-Aid off. That's what this year is all about. So yes, we're going to be talking about on some crazy topics this tonight's show. So like I said, after 2000. I would say 2012, I went libertarian. So because that really does the mindset of me. Like when it comes to me and my family and my money and my stuff, I'm conservative about certain things. But when it comes, if you want to go and raise your kid the way you want to raise it, even though if it's not affecting people's family, yeah, throw them in jail. I don't care about that part. But you want to do certain things, that's your life. You live it. That's how I live my life. You live your life the way you want it. Again, we come to the thing because right now you got people with trans stuff and everything. If you want to raise your kid as that and set them up for a weird life in the future, that's your call. You had a kid, you have it in the house. When it start affecting other kids, it's a different story. But I'm not against you raising the kid you want to. As long as you ain't telling me how to raise my kid, and it's not my kid's not affecting your kid like bullying or anything like that, then we should be all cool about it. That's what it was. We should be. In that regard, and that's how my mindset is. You do what you gotta do. It's your kid. I'm not paying your bills. I'm not doing that. You should do this stuff, but you should not tell me how to do the same thing as well too. So we got that. But what I've learned is a lot of people do not know about the history of these parties. Sadly, from since the 40s up, a lot of people think that the Democrats were always for black people. Basically, they won't. If you wanna see a more detailed video of what I'm talking about, what I just said right there, I have several videos. You go back you go to Project Omega on YouTube. Like I said, you go down there and see, and go in February where those are months I talk more about the history of blacks in America and how things are. Where that's the story, but I'm gonna go through it. I'm gonna give you a little piece snippet of it, of these things. But those are the more detailed videos where I talk about slavery and stuff and how that was how things is. A lot of people think that only there were more African slaves went towards the Muslim than the white man took to the West. And also most of this, and the white man took to the West. When the slave ship was going to the west of Africa, it was the white, as people say that Europeans. It was only 10% of the bigger trade going to the west was that. Majority of the slaves were Portugal taking African slaves to Brazil. Brazil had the biggest Afrocentric of slaves in the to the west from Africa. A lot of people don't know that, and again. The Portuguese also went and did, of course, with Cortez and all those guys and stuff like that. They did their stuff as well down the Yucatan Peninsula, or basically the Mexican Peninsula. But nobody wants to talk about it. Just talk about the white people. Yeah. Here's the thing. As I stated before, and this is just a statistical fact. One, there's more slaves now than there were back then. That's just one, because there's more people in the world, but they are that. America is the only country of the superpowers, or that has that. One, has that more people could combine. Two, also has in their, of course, in their laws with the Constitution, and also with with amendments, the amendments that freed slaves. Other countries never had to do that. Other countries still have slaves. Right now, the biggest slave population right now is in China. But again, nobody wants to talk about those things because it's just what it is. You had a lot of Muslims that took slaves from India and put them in Africa. Again, and another statistical number that a lot of people don't are surprised by. More, sorry, right now, white people are the minority on this planet. There are more people of color, which is Asians, than white people. There are more blacks than white people. But that's just people just thinking like superpower and all this stuff like that. You have 3 superpowers upon this planet right now, as we are. You have China, America, Russia. Russia's a little whatever, but they got right now they're fighting with Ukraine with everything. But they do have the capabilities of nuclear power, could do a lot of damage and whatever. Those 3 countries are superpowers. Most of the pollution in the world comes from China and India. And when you talk about America, and again, I am all for cleaning up the world. I have nothing against that. Let's be smart about it. And why should I suffer for doing the right thing while other people keep on doing that? The UN does not the UN regulates America so much and stuff like that, and we do a lot of stuff. Yes, but China don't gotta. They're building coal plants. Left, right, left. Same thing with India. They're building a lot of coal plants because they don't care. We're shutting down our coal plants, trying to go solar power. The other countries are like, yeah, you do that. We don't care. We're going to go and try to get our power. Another thing that I want to, like I said, bring out is, who kills the most race? Basically the same race. Who kill more black people? Black people. Who kill more Asians? Asians. Who kill more you go down the list. That's who kills the most. Statistically, because we mostly around the people we are around so much that they come and kill us by the numbers. In America, the number 1 killers of blacks is black people. Ain't the white man, ain't the cops, ain't none of that. It's black people killing up black people. And some people want to keep it that way because, yeah, whatever, and make a big fuss about a lot of stuff that's not needed to be talked about. There are horrible crimes that I pointed out on this show and in the past of blacks doing horrible things to other black people, but those stories never build up. But a white person do it, which here's the thing. I don't care what color you are. You hurt or kill somebody else, you're evil. That's why one of my biggest stances, evil is evil. I don't care what color, like I said, evil is evil no matter the race, color, creed, height, sex, gender, nationality, it makes no difference. Evil is evil. I don't care what it is. Every race has evil people. Every ethnic group has evil people. Every country has evil people. And every country has good people and all, and the same thing. We are not a monolith. We're just not. I've known some. I friend of the show, Anderson, Mexican, good guy, cool guy, and me and him has talked for years. And a good friend. Good friend. My friend Azora, I know her as well too. And I didn't talk to her in a while, but Zora as well too. Good friend. They're from Mexico. But I know people, but I do know pieces of crap. A Mexican person who killed my other friend, husband and 2 kids, like I've talked before in the show before. It's people. It's a character. I don't care this, your skin color and that thing. And also, we got a problem right now where people is like, oh, which I'm as a libertarian, I could tell you this. I don't agree with this at all. Pointing this out. Well, I'm sorry. You should not be persecuted on what you look and how you and what you look. As long as you ain't hurt nobody or touch nobody, you should not be persecuted for that. Point blank. I'm with you on that. Nobody should get hurt for that. But I will say this. Sorry, LGBTQ, which again I don't understand those acronyms how it works, but you could tell that I'm black. You talk about civil rights. You could tell that I'm black. You can't tell me if I'm straight or not. Well, you know I'm straight because you don't even know that. I could have this because I'm married to a gay person. You don't know, and that part does annoys me how they get over that for black people. But that's not the topic of tonight's show. I'm just giving you a synopsis of where we're going is to give you statistical truth because that's where we're going down this road right now. So, in tonight's show, we're going to talk about why we need a third party, and that's why I said that. Now, point taken. We have the Democrat Party. Most of the Democrat Party is liberal, and again, and young people goes towards it. A lot of the musicians go toward it. A lot of the movie actors goes toward it. They're stuck in perpetual, certain things, but they go toward it. And then you have the Republican Party, mostly older people who have gotten money, gotten things, and then they we call it, and they literally just talk about money and richness. That's mostly how the media portrays them, which I don't like, but you got to do your own thinking. And right now, I can tell you a lot of people don't do their own thinking. They just go through social media and just like I said, if you don't believe what I'm saying, go search what I'm going to say, tell you. I'm going to show you. I always show you my receipts. But again, go out, look and take a good look at these things. That is what is needed. So, with that said, let us go into so we had basically at the start of the country where things was going whatever. We had two political parties at the time. We had a little bit more than that, but we had two political parties. And before I get into that too, I think America is unique to have a third party. They need to have a third party because is enough that they could break up a little bit of the monopoly or the duopoly that these two parties have because of what's going on in that. But you don't want like 5, 6, 7 parties because then the country split too much, and then the crazier parties or whatever parties could win by just a margin of 1%, 2%, whatever. That's what you get when you go into Parliament in England and in Canada and in certain other countries as well too. You don't want multiple parties, whatever, super multiple parties. But third party will be very beneficial to America to help out. And I'm talking about something original. Now, like I said, I have no problem if they go ahead. Let's have a black party. I gotta see what it's all about. Since the black Americans have a very strong voting bloc, but of course you see that a certain party, certain two parties, I should say, two parties are bringing in more, are bringing in underclass, so your vote don't count, which is crazy. So, but I think we need a third party. I think a good third party would go. And I'm not talking about independent. Like I said, I'm not talking about independent because independent is not really a third party. That's just basically Democrats light. And even to my degree, I think libertarian, and I'm a libertarian, but that's all libertarian in most cases is also a Republican light as well. So I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'll tell you all the truth right there. We just need a third party. But I got a problem with Green Party. So we just need something that could siphon off the votes that is the good middle ground. Independence is not that, and the Libertarian, like I said, is not that, just to be 100% with that. But we do need a third party. So we had the Whig Party, and then we had the Democrats. And in the past, before the 1900s, things was back and forth in its own thing. And I've studied most of the stuff back there. The South was mostly Democrat. The North was mostly Whigs. But then, before we have the Civil War, where things had gone crazy and everything had that, the Whig Party turned into the Republican Party. And of course, the first president of the Republican was Abraham Lincoln. Again, Lincoln had his own demons. He was not the perfect president as well, too. But You know, one thing that I've seen, we got a lot of black people going out there celebrating Juneteenth. Okay, whatever. I don't celebrate it because it logistically, not, I mean, logically, it don't make sense to me. I'm sorry. I'm just telling you that right there. But again, they pass it as a holiday. Joe Biden passes it as a holiday, and to take so government workers could take the day off. For enough, more white people got that day off more than black people. But I digress. How weird that thing is. The holiday that should be our true holiday should be the Emancipation Proclamation in September, where Lincoln signed to free all the slaves he gave. The Juneteenth is the last 300 slaves that's freed from Texas. That's what the significance of Juneteenth is. All the other from Democrats. Funny how that works out too, but I digress again. But but the Emancipation Proclamation should have been a holiday. Then we should have said because we freed the slaves. But for some reason, that never became a national holiday, and I wonder why. Because maybe the history of one party did that. But after the 1900s, little past 1880 and stuff, where the Civil War and the slaves were free, and it was not an easy thing. I am not gonna say that the Republicans didn't have their problems as well too, because they had a lot of freed slaves, but they also didn't want to hire the slaves just as much as the Democrats wanted in the South, wanted to keep the slaves and turn them back into slaves. And of course, most of the slaves had that mindset because all they were taught in their life was to be slaves. So they went back to being in servitude because that's all they know. Just pointing that out to most people. That's all they know. But even though before that, we have, after that, let me just give you two quick things here. No, I don't need that. I'm going to just give this. So, of course, after that, you have these situations. Then you start having the Jim Crow laws, which was basically slaves. The South, most of the South and Democrats wanted to still keep their slaves around. So they had the Jim Crow laws that you couldn't vote you do a 2/5 of the thing. Even in my job where I read deeds for property, in my actual day job that I do, I read some deeds. Oh, back in the 1800s when I'm looking at these deeds, and I go back and I see they saying that they say that you should not have a farmland, you should have no pigs or whatever on the property, and you also should not have Negroes on the property as well too. That's crazy, but those were written back in those deeds I've seen in North Carolina. They should have that. Funny now that the deed I saw that one time, it's funny that it was black people buying the house, and it's a very nice, expensive house. So good for them. But I mean, that's a couple of deeds back. They would have never read that. I read it because of the job, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But we had the Jim Crow laws that forced a lot of slaves to be rehabilitated into staying as slaves. Some walked away from it, some stayed in it, but they made it hard for them to vote, to get a house, to be freed, and most of those rules were the Jim Crow laws was developed by Democrats back in that time. That's a part of the history, but a lot of people don't want to talk about those same histories because the funny thing about it, those Jim Crow laws was set aside to also re-enslave most of the black people, which it worked. It did work into the 1960 Civil Rights Bill. It worked because from the 1900s all the way to 1940, blacks was on the rise. We stick together as a group because of how the situation was, and it makes sense. We stick together as a group, and we will gain our own businesses. We will making our own money. We're doing our own banks. We will becoming our own thing. Point taken. That's it. Forgot her name. Basically, was the first female. You know what? I could pull it up quickly. Madam C.J. Walker, that's what it is. Madam C.J. Walker, of course, where she had Madam C.J. Walker, where she was the first millionaire in this country. A black slave became a millionaire. It wasn't a white woman, it was a black woman. Became a millionaire by doing hair products and stuff like that. If you go back to the February's on the channel, like I said, on the YouTube channel, you will see it down there, the YouTube channel. You'll see other people like Thomas Sowell and Susan B. Athens and many more people I have I've talked their stories about how it was back in those days. Was it rough? Yes, but they themselves said America is more racist now than they were back in the 1930s and 40s when they were growing up as kids. We have, of course, that famous quote of LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, saying, "Ask basically telling and closed doors were told people," like I said, give these black earners social welfare and stuff like that, which was engineered to destroy the black rising up. Give those social people, give the black people a social welfare net, and I guarantee you we're gonna have them voting Democrat for the next 100 years. It's been almost 65 years, and most black people that does vote Democrat by a large number, by 98% clip. He said, "Give me the welfare, and I'll have these earners voting Democrat for the next 100 years." And he's been proven correctly. Lyndon B. Johnson didn't like a lot of black people, but nobody want to talk about that. What about Teddy not Teddy Roosevelt? Kennedy, Teddy Kennedy, who was a Democrat, of course, and he basically wiretapped and tried to deframe Martin Luther King because he didn't want this black man who was gaining prominence to be uppity. And the thing that always killed me too is like, that always killed me about that too. That kind of hurts my heart. Is like, I don't call him Reverend because he's a clown, but Al Sharpton was right beside Martin Luther King, and he knows it. But the thing about it is, which is sad, he's a leech. And it's very disheartening that he was right there with Martin Luther King, and he saw what Martin Luther was talking about, but didn't carry on his legacy. Because Al Sharpton is a heretic. I said, going to hell, he'll be there too. But at the time, back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 40s, black poverty was going down. 1. 2, we also, black Americans, we had a birth rate and marriage rate that was better percentage-wise than any other race. Out of wedlock births was like 17%. We were doing better than the white people at 20%. Now, it's after 1960, 10 years after that, it's flipped and stayed at. And it didn't flip like, 20, 30. No, 72% of black kids are born to single mothers, which is breaking down a family. And that's where you see what I said. With Hollywood, social media, all that stuff, they want to break down a family. So one, we could keep you stupid, keep you buying products, keep you poor, so they could keep on making money. That's what they want to do. They have the power to keep their money. That's what they want to do. Because they don't care about you. They talk that good talk. Majority of them, not all of them, but majority of them talk what they talk, and they don't care about you. That's why I say we need a third party in that regard. And another thing, and that's I'm going to talk about, because let me help introduce this to a lot of people, because again, some of these stuff, I've talked about this, and February is coming up, so you're not going to talk about it again in there as well too. But if you want to check these stuff out, I have no problem to show you my receipts to show you that how people always say, people always say Republicans is the racist party and all this stuff like that. The Republicans, freed a slave. The first president freed a slave. There were more of that, because if that was the case, and they were horrible, horrible people, right? As people call it, then this right here should not have happened. Then let me try to show this to you right here, so you could see what I'm talking about. Shout out to my boy who wants you know Europeans fight. They call it. Europeans fight Europeans. They call it world wars when white kill white. Yeah, most of the history books come from that side as well, to my boy Shy. But again, there have been wars that's just as the world wars literally was different bigger countries fighting other bigger countries, not just white people. But to be honest with you, that's just what it was. Yes, and point out again, we have go back to the Bible. People was enslaved back then, so there were slaves. Some of them were enslaved. You're correct. And most of the people who helped set up the most of the set up people was African slaving other Africans. That's what was happening, and they sell their, which is just human nature. I don't think of it as negative or bad. It's human nature. And those times, you fight your enemy, you fight the next country over, you fight the next tribe over, you enslave the people. That's just what it was. And you take those were your spoils, and you sort out the people. A lot of African tribes had wars, killed. The same thing was over in America with the with American Indians, also with the Apaches, Arawaks, Caribs, as we've been in those we from the Caribbean. Everyone, every those tribes did the same thing. The tribes in Europe with of course with Genghis Khan, and of course Alexander the Great. All these people enslave other people. Just what it is. And they, like I said, most of the people, because we talk about white people again, the biggest trade slavers from Africa were Muslims. They didn't even ratify, or thought most of the Muslim countries didn't ratify, and it's still doing it to this day, of course. They didn't ratify and say anything that slavery was bad until 1920. That's what they thought. Some of them is 1940. But again, like I said, they make no difference to anything. There are more slaves now than there in the country than before. And there's a lot of slaves right now in China. There's a lot of African slaves in China. A lot of the Muslim slaves in China. I forgot they call the Muslim slaves the Uyghurs, stuff like that. Again, in China, they don't believe in religion. Even people who are Rastafarian, their religion is Xi Jinping is a god. That's why North Korea and China is the same thing. That's what they believe. The person is the god. If you believe anything outside of that, off to the gulags you go. After the gulags you go. You're not going to that. But as again, going showing, I want to show you this. So as we stated before, like I said, in America, they said that a lot of what do you call it? A lot of if the Republicans were the people of slavery and everything, as they said, okay, and the racists and all that stuff like that, which I'm going to show you how things are, then this should not be the problem right here. The first who made it into Congress and Senate and everything else. Let's show you that. The first product, the first set of and again, you go read Frederick Douglass and forgot the other black author at that time. and you read their books, and you learn about how the situation was at those times as well too. But anyway, let's go to this. See this right here. This is, if that was the case, African Americans, whatever, with the slavery and everything, South Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, all these Republicans, Florida, South Carolina again, these are Republicans. The first 22 African Americans were Republicans. I mean, such bad stuff like that. I mean, just weird, don't you think? The first 22 representatives was that. Jim Crow civil rights, there was that too. Did that. First was that. Now, we've gone from that to straight up just Democrats after that. And some of these, I don't know all of them, but there are some that are really despicable people up to now. But we have already gone up to these right here, all Dems all the way up. Crooked. So I'm not even deny some of the evil stuff that those people have done. Now we got to the point where you can't, in the town now you get red, you get blue, but mostly you get mostly blue. That's the last election. There was Mia Love, I think she's the last African American or whatever who did. Yep, did that. Still funny to me in that regard too. But if they were racist back then, like they always said, why did all these guys went to the Republican Party? And then it's not even that. You go to the Senate, it's the same. It's basically that. It's not that much year because the Senate is a different story. But yeah, these were the first African senators. Was that we have that. And again, yeah, not gonna ever vote for you for what you did. But anyway, point taken in that regard. When people, I'm just pointing out because people said back in the day that it was Republicans that was all that. No, it was not. It was not that. Again, that was a true story that came out that changed stuff like that. Now, at this point right now, we have let's see. I want to bring up and please listen and understand how certain things got set up when I want to talk about this. Because again, there were bad Republicans out there too. I'm not saying that. That's why I said we need a third party. Because there were bad Republicans as well who did horrible stuff again. I mean, most of our crazy money and everything that we've done for certain things was under President Bush. Sorry, but the guy was a
you piece of loser.
To me, he's the one who kind of wrecked the postal service in a way with providing like they should have all these benefits. And for people who have postal service, good for you. You got your benefits, but I'm sorry, it was unattainable, and we're seeing that right now. He put us in a war that we should have never been in the first place. We should have never had a war with Iraq because he made a what do you call it, a power vacuum, and it's been felt all until now. Till now, he has done immeasurable damage to a lot of things around the world. So I am not with him. Dick Cheney's the same thing. He's a despicable human being too because I don't have the clip. I gotta find a clip. I have a clip somewhere. on my old computer, and I hope I can find it. The clip where in 1992 with Dick Cheney, when Bush Senior went into Iraq, and they asked Dick Cheney and said, "Hey, why did we not take Saddam Hussein out? Why did we not do that?" And Dick Cheney said, verbatim, he's like, if we took Saddam Hussein out, it will cause a power vacuum. There's gonna be this much wars. A lot of the other countries start fighting each other. Blah blah blah. Excuse me. Lo and behold, 10 years later, he did it. Now, of course, he made a ton of money off of that, and I still don't understand how the man who ain't got a heart still living this long. Jesus. That's evil. That is literally Palpatine from Star Wars, really right there. And he also is a piece of crap human. But he predicted and said if we had did this in 1991, what would happen? So what changed your mind in 2001? Oh, that's what it was. That's what changed it. And let's not forget. Let's not let this pass over, because Biden, Clinton, Hillary, all these people, Schumer, all these, Nancy Pelosi, all those people voted for the war too. Even though Bush pushed it and Dick Cheney and all of them, they pushed for it too. So let's not pretend that this was a black and white thing. They don't care. It's so funny how Nancy Pelosi and the majority of Republicans are like, oh, we should go out and help Israel. I got a problem helping out Israel in that regard and other things, but I got a problem. I got a big problem here with that. Hawaii, like I've been doing in my show last year. Hawaii just got burnt down, one of the islands. How about we help people who pay taxes all the time before you go help other people? Like I said, if my house is burning and falling apart, whatever, if I can't fix that, why should I go out and help other people? Because again, that's why I always say, again, another phase of my show, take care of yourself. Because I can't help my wife and my kids, and I ain't got kids, sorry. My wife, my family, if I'm sick, if I'm the one capable person to do things and I'm sick, I can't help them. I can't work. I can't do stuff physical. Maybe they needed something to do certain things. I can't. You got to take care of yourself first. Then take care of yourself. That's why I said in the last show, when they told you, when the mask dropped from the screen, what did they tell you? Put the mask on you first before you help the person next to you. That's what you're supposed to do. And they've been paying taxes, and all they got was $700 to $1,200. I lost my whole house, but the government only gave me $1,200. But you're gonna give $90 billion for a war that ain't gonna do nothing for us at all. Right now, you got in the Red Sea, we got Iran attack a lot of the ships, which of course a lot of ships are starting to go around Africa, which is making a lot of stuff more expensive and also kicking up inflation more. No, our president should. I'm sorry, but I think our president should go there and start blah 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 blah. Stop telling them, hey, stop attacking ships and leave it alone. To these pirates, the Houthis is doing this, and again. I feel for the Palestinians who are out there who are suffering, but again, the Hamas is a terrorist group, and they're not playing. They don't play fair. Again, if my family comes first, I'm sorry. If you're gonna attack my family, if I'm in my house, you're attacking my family from a hospital. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm human. It's human nature. People are like, oh, that's evil, whatever. Okay, so I should let me and my family die when you are attacking me from a hospital. It's sucky that I'm doing that, but I gotta stop you from doing something. They just found out what the big tunnel that Gaza did underneath the Palestinians. That's gonna cause a nasty earthquake to kill so many Palestinians. But nobody want to talk about that, what the Hamas is doing to the Palestinians. They don't want to talk about that. They say Israel, yeah, they're not a saint. They're not the best. Like I said, every country has the evil or whatever. But again, we gotta look at this and see it as it is. But my point is, we spent all that money to those people out there. That is crazy. Right now, a lot of you young kids are paying taxes. Mad taxes because of this. Look what's going on with the taxes right now. We're paying more inflation, high taxes, high gases, high all these stuff right here. Okay? I want to show you something right here because when you hear a lot of these people, again, remember, so you hear a lot of Democrats say, oh, the Republicans are only doing it for the rich donors. And I always ask this question to a lot of Democrat people, voters who say that because they're repeating what Nancy Pelosi and all them said. And I got a question for y'all. And nobody, every time I get two different things when I ask this question. One is befuddlement, and one is like, you know what, you're right. And here's the question I was asking, like, oh, the Republicans are for the rich. Says, okay, so you think Nancy Pelosi, she ain't rich? Chuck Schumer, he ain't rich? Nadler ain't rich? Cortez, Alexandria Cortez is getting up there. She was a bar person, and again, I respected that she took out an incumbent and worked. That's the only thing I respect her on, though. But she's now living a better, richer life off of other people. While she shut jobs down for her local New Yorkers, she is flying around doing her stuff and getting money. She like, oh, I'm going to work for the people. No, you're not. You wanted infamy and you wanted attention, which is you got, and that's why you got these millions of followers to follow you and listen to your dumb intakes. Sorry, it is. Nancy Pelosi has a mansion. She says you should not have guns, but they have protected guards protecting the house. America, you should not have walls for borders. Walls are racist, but she has walls around her house. Same thing with Chuck Schumer, shame to these people. They got walls around their house. When you hear these Hollywood elites be like, oh, yeah, guns are horrible. We should get our guns and all this stuff. Again, they have bodyguards that have what? Guns. They might not have a gun, but they have people who walk around them with guns. But I can't have a gun legally the right way, whatever. Again, yes, let's do a little process. Let's make sure and stuff like that. But again, most of the guys who do crime don't follow the gun laws anyway. And Nancy Pelosi was arguing against Florida, so how horrible Ron DeSantis is, and Florida's a horrible place, and also telling you that the water levels are rising, and we need to stop global warming, and because water's gonna be at the beaches, whatever. What did she did in 2021? Oh wait, let me see. She bought a $25 million house on the Gulf Coast. Okay, so you could buy a house on the Gulf Coast where the water's gonna rise, whatever, but we should suffer. I don't like that. Never have, never will. And when a tax situation happened like this, these are the same people who say, tax the rich, tax the rich. They're rich themselves, and they don't pay their tax because they got all the loops out of it. Here's something that I want to play this. This is a part of Project. Are you going into Project with Mike? Where you see that on the raw files, you can see all my videos that's untouched if you want to look over stuff like that. But here's something. I want to play this one once for people to understand how taxes were set up. All these Hollywood types who are Democrat leftists were talking about, oh, you pay a share. The Republicans are rich, blah, blah, blah. It was them who set up the tax code for the rich to get away with a lot of money. You don't believe me? Check my receipts. Let's take a look at this. Since a lot of people, again, check this out.
Believe me, let's take a look at history. In the 1950s, the top tax rate was not 39%, it was 91%.
1%.
That means for every dollar that you earned, over $200,000, you only got to keep 9 cents because 91 of those cents were going to the government in taxes. If the top tax rate is 91%, then the rich must be paying their fair share because the taxes are so high. So if you're making a lot of money, you must be paying a ton of money in taxes, right? Well, not exactly. It actually creates more inequality because now if you're rich, you have a lot of incentive not to pay those high taxes because it is very profitable to go out and find a tax loophole or create a tax loophole. That way you don't have to pay 91% in taxes. One of the most...
Exactly. And now Louis B. Mayer, a Democrat donor, listen what he did.
famous examples of this was Louis B. Mayer. He was a big-time film producer and he retired in 1951. And when he retired in 1951, his studio gave him a $2.7 million bonus. Now, this $2.7 million bonus was an income tax subject to 91% taxes. But he didn't want to pay 91% in taxes because that meant he'd be paying $2.3 million of that in taxes. So what he did instead was he hired a lobbyist, and then this lobbyist went to bat for him, and he got a new tax exemption put into the tax code. That way he did not have to pay 91% in taxes, and he only had to pay 25% in taxes, even though the tax code says that if you make more than $200,000, you gotta pay 91% in taxes. Oh, and what he did was 100% legal. And it wasn't just him. Studies found that the 1% actually were so incentivized to go out and pay congresspeople and pay lobbyists to go out and create tax exemptions that the top 1% who were supposed to be paying 91% in taxes were in effect only paying 16% in taxes because of all the money they spent in lobbying to create tax exemptions for the rich. The higher taxes are, the more incentives rich people have to go out and create tax exemptions. That way they don't have to pay the higher taxes, and that creates more wealth inequality because now if you don't have the money to go out and create a tax exemption, you're stuck paying all these high taxes while rich people are not. And so who bears the burden? The poor and the middle class and the upper middle class, while the rich don't have to pay it. The goal.
Exactly. And that's a point I wanted to point out there because, again, that's just how they did that. He didn't want to pay that. He was one of the people who said, yeah, pay your taxes, pay your share, blah, blah, blah. But when it came to him paying the taxes, he didn't want to do that. That's why a lot of these politicians, Republican and Democrat, but I'm just going with the hypocrisy with the Democrats who say, oh, you should pay the fair share, whatever. They're rich too. And they don't want to pay that. I give you a good example. You can go search this up yourself. Back in 2014 or 15, when we had remember the stupid balls that was spiral, whatever, right? Who passed? It was the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, of course, passed a law that said that we should get rid of incandescent bulbs because it's not good and go green, blah 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 blah. Not knowing that the mercury in there, that if the glass shatter, it's very toxic. One, and two, the bulbs didn't really last as long as the people that thought LEDs was the better choice. Thank God we have the but by the time, here's the thing. She forced them to see. She said she and her lobbyists wrote a bill that says we're gonna ban incandescent bulbs, and we still have them to this day. Thank God, because it got reversed. But who was the first person to buy stock shares into the new bulbs because they know that they want to go up in GE and all the stuff there? I'll give you one guess. It was Nancy Pelosi and her husband. That was who did it. So they would hit Martha Stewart. Oh, inside trading, but they are the ultimate inside trader. There should be a law that Congress and the Senate. I know they would say no. You should not be having stocks and benefiting off of this thing. That's insider trading itself because you're making laws that are going to hurt that you could benefit off of. And trust me, it works on the Republican side too because again, after the sequester in 2012, who was the person who was the first politician who got money after the government shut down sequester, which I'm not a fan of. I agree with him sometimes, but I don't a fan of, and he should be Kentucky. You should get him out of there, okay? He's old and shriveled up. Get him out of there, all right? Because that guy is and I'll admit to him, he also is like he's also like the they call it again, like Joe Biden. He's senile. He's getting up there. I'm sorry, he's not gonna be Not really good. Just saying, not really good. But when that I was gonna say Mitch McConnell, when that happened, he got 20, I think it was $2 billion. He got $2 billion off of that. That was less than 2 hours after the deal went through. He because he got $2 billion. I'm not down with that. That's cool. That is cold and that's messed up. So again, politician with that. Now he didn't. He had $2 billion for his state, but that was that's bargaining to get $2 billion like right after the sequester shut down. That's weird. That's a wait a minute. Something ain't right here. Kind of situation. That's what that was about. So another thing let me talk about the Republican side now and more since I did with Mitch McConnell. For people out there who need to understand this, there are different types of Republicans. Conservative, but everything has nuances, as I said before. But not all Republicans are great either. Like I said, I brought up Bush, I brought up Cheney. I go Mitt Romney. He's a faker, a faker person. His niece, who's rated RNC, she's also a piece of work. Yeah, I kick them to the side because they're bad people. Here's how this situation is going right here, though. I want you so you can understand how the different types of conservative in the Republican Party, because it's not a black and white. Just like you have a lot of Democrats who are liberal, and then you have leftist cuckoo gaga people. Most of those people are in the most leftist cuckoo states, which is the left coast. Not surprising. But here are some people on the Republican side that I don't agree with. I think we can. I'm not with the neocons. And Nikki Haley, who's running against President Trump, she's a neocon. I'm not with her. So I'll play this so people can understand the difference between on the Republican side as well too.
Conservatives today know that there are actually two basic kinds of conservatives, and the movement, along with the Republican Party, split into two different factions beginning back in the 1960s, resulting in the neocons, the neoconservatives, or the new conservatives, taking control. Neocons are similar to rhinos, Republican in name only, but are particularly interested in foreign policy and are known for being war hawks who use the military-industrial complex to intervene in the affairs of foreign countries. They are globalists as opposed to nationalists, although they portray themselves as patriotic by flexing America's military power and sending other people's kids to war while theirs hang out in the coffee bars at Ivy League universities. Paleo-conservatives, on the other hand, are the true conservatives. They're the traditionalist Americans who tend to be Christian and oppose open borders and the LGBTQ agenda and have a strong sense of national pride. Instead of being concerned with nation building and foreign countries, they prefer a more isolationist foreign policy and focus on localism. In other words, they don't support wars in the Middle East, like the war in Iraq or the latest flare-up between Israel and Gaza, not just because wars are almost always started by lies, but because paleo-conservatives don't want the United States sticking its nose in other countries' business and wasting our money and our resources on foreign countries' problems. There are some other nuanced differences as well, such as paleo-conservatives tend to oppose free trade, which they see as harming America's manufacture sector by allowing cheap goods to be imported from foreign countries without making them pay tariffs, and instead support what's called trade protectionism. The term paleo means older or ancient, just like the paleo diet refers to a diet humans are believed to have eaten during the Paleolithic era a long time ago, and is used to differentiate traditionalist or classical conservatives from the new or the neo-conservatives, the neocons. This is the kind of nuts and bolts material that you'll find in my new book, The War on Conservatives. Aside from keeping up with the day-to-day news or the fake we can navigate our way into a future that we want, not one that a bunch of bureaucrats and lobbyists in Washington, D.C. want, or the future that a bunch of mainstream media mockingbirds want. So order The War on Conservatives in paperback from Amazon.com. Or click the link in the discussion about neoconservatism versus paleoconservatism. Ben Shapiro, for example, is a staunch neocon who supported legalizing gay marriage, and he tries downplaying that position to conservative audiences by saying he wouldn't personally attend a gay wedding, but he does support it as an institution. In response to somebody who claimed that he didn't, he answered that he's been libertarian on same-sex marriage for years before Obergefell, referring to the 2015 Supreme Court case, which ultimately legalized it. And Ben Shapiro, like all neocons, supports any Middle Eastern war or military action that would either directly or indirectly protect Israel. Now we're getting into some controversial material here, but you really should read what's going on in my new book to get the full story.
I want to 'cause I do want people to understand, like I said, what the difference between a neocon and
These were the ones who concocted the
paleo.
weapons of mass destruction hoax and the lie that Saddam Hussein had a relationship with al-Qaeda to dupe the American people and the rest of the world into going along with the invasion of Iraq in 2003 to carry out their project for the new American century. 3 years earlier, the PNAC neocon think tank were complaining that their plan would be difficult, quote, absent some catastrophic and catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor. The 9/11 attacks were their new Pearl Harbor, and 2 years into the war on terror, the aim shifted from Afghanistan, where Osama bin Laden was supposedly hiding out, to Iraq. And contrary to popular belief, this wasn't just to steal their oil or preserve the petrodollar. Another reason was to protect Israel, America's greatest ally. But you're not supposed to say this out loud, though, or post about it on social media. That's another anti-Semitic trope, they say, so be careful. In 1981, Israel bombed a nuclear reactor in Iraq out of concerns that the country would become a nuclear power and pose a danger to them, since Iraq was allied with other Arab countries in the region during the Six-Day War, or the Third Arab-Israeli War in 1967, which broke out as a result of the ongoing hostilities between Israel and their Arab neighbors ever since the UN mandate in 1948 officially creating the State of Israel, which resulted in 700,000 Palestinians losing their homes, an event known as the Palestinian expulsion. This is forbidden material for all mainstream conservative talk show hosts and Republican members of Congress. This is one of those things they will not touch. The Israeli-Palestine conflict is a 75-year-old mess in its current iteration, and it's something I'm not very interested in because I'm an American and I don't have a dog in the ongoing fight over there about which ethnic group controls which parts of land. But obviously, Israel has been concerned about its Arab neighbors ever since the creation of the Jewish state, and Iraq was still considered a prime threat to them in the early 2000s because of the possibility that they may acquire nuclear weapons in the future. So when George W. Bush was beating the war drums and saying that Iraq posed a threat to the United States, which it didn't, and our allies, he was talking about Israel. This is why Republicans like Mark Levin and others consider any criticism of neocons to be anti-Semitic and deem the word itself to be essentially an anti-Semitic slur.
No, we're not neocons. What does that mean exactly? Just another phrase, you know, for the anti-Semites. Oh, you must be a neocon. Oh, I can say that left and right and nobody can accuse me of any. Oh, you're a neocon. Or you must be a militarist. You want intervention all the time, intervention? No.
Neocons. Soldiers are the neocons. I'm sick of this anti-Semitic bullcrap. Not neocons.
There's so much more. You really have to read my name. Conservatism as if their kind of conservatism is the only kind, and try to frame paleoconservatism without using that term so people don't look into the paleo-neocon split as an ancient relic, a political belief system that's no longer practical in our modern age. William F. Buckley, in his publication, The National Review, made it their goal to purge the paleoconservatives from the Republican Party in the 1960s. One of their prime targets was the John Birch Society, which was formed in the late 1950s to oppose communism. But their hard stance against globalists and globalist organizations like the United Nations, the Council on Foreign Relations, and the Bilderberg Group was seen as a hindrance to the neocon agenda, so they strategically worked to exile them. The remaining paleoconservatives who survived William F. Buckley's purge in the 1960s were mostly pushed out of mainstream Republican politics in the early 1980s as the rift continued to grow. These were people such as Pat Buchanan, Paul Gottfried, Joseph Sobrin, Samuel Francis, Russell Kirk, as well as organizations like the Rockford Institute and the Philadelphia Society. The John Birch Society is still in existence today, although it's just a shell of its former self and hasn't had any significant power since the 1970s. So for decades, the neocons have been the ones steering much of the Republican Party until Donald Trump came on the scene and ignited a populist movement and shook the political establishment to its core, resulting in the all-out war to impeach and imprison him. Although
night, of course, and it's beyond 100% obvious that neocon Nikki Haley is working with the Marxist Democrats in order to try to undermine his candidacy. And it's all on video, and I'll show you all the clips. So stay tuned and subscribe to my channel if you're new here, because you won't find information and analysis like this anywhere else.
Trump vote
Democrats. Right, CNN?
Take a look at the numbers. Among
Majority of the people who actually voted for neocon Nikki were, in fact, Democrats. Right, CNN?
Take a look at the numbers. Among Trump voters, 70% of them, according to our exit polls, are registered Republicans. Donald Trump, his support, 27% of his voters are registered undeclared or independents. 3% were unregistered before today. Look at how that compares with Nikki Haley. It's a complete reversal. It's an alternate universe. Among Haley voters, 70% are registered undeclared. Only
Democrats.
27% are registered Republicans.
But those are just poll numbers, you might say. Well, let's talk to some of the voters. Hear directly from them.
Nikki Haley.
And why did you vote for Nikki Haley?
It's a vote against Trump. I think it would be better to have her against Biden in the elections than it would be Trump and her.
Do you consider yourself
In the elections, then it would be Trump and her.
Do you consider yourself generally independent, Republican, or Democrat?
Democrat.
So when you undeclared, you voted for Nikki Haley. If it was Nikki Haley against Joe Biden in a general election, who are you voting for?
Joe Biden.
What? What the fuck?
So he's a Democrat who claimed to be an undeclared voter just so he could vote for neocon Nikki. And there's many, many more where he came from.
Yo, I cannot believe these Who did you vote for and why?
Yeah, so thank you. I voted for Nikki Haley, and it was certainly a strategic vote. I think the DNC is fairly resolute in their nomination for Joe Biden. And while I wouldn't vote for her in a general election, particularly on our differences with climate change solution, a women's right to bodily autonomy, or incarceration rates, I think a vote for Nikki Haley helps diminish Trump's influence in the RNC and their nomination, but is also a vote towards democracy.
And Christian is emblematic of so many conversations that I've had here throughout the day. Rachel?
In other words, Democrats are trying to undermine our democracy by manipulating the Republican primary process. Excuse me, Joy Reid, will you either confirm or deny that it is largely the Democrats who are funding neocon Nikki Haley's campaign?
Yeah. But if you're the donor class that wants Trump gone, you tell her, thug it out for a few months. I'm going to put some more money in your bank account, because if he gets convicted, you do want to have a candidate with enough delegates to go that can be on the floor and have a floor fight with Donald Trump.
Even Ronna McDaniel herself, a DC swamp monster, and Rhino is calling on neocon Nikki to drop out of the race.
Looking at the math and the path going forward, and I don't see it for Nikki Haley. I think she's run a great campaign, but I do think there is a message that's coming out from the voters, which is very clear. We need to unite around our eventual nominee, which is going to be Donald Trump, and we need to make sure we beat Joe Biden. It is 10 months away till the November election, and we can't wait any longer to put our foot on the gas, to beat the worst president, to beat a president that's kept our borders open, allowed fentanyl to pour through, allowed inflation to go rampant. He is hurting the American people, and we need to do everything we can to unite so that we can defeat him.
Told Lake people were willing to put their money where their mouth is. I mean, the audio from this is absolutely. Nuts. He says things like very powerful people don't want you to run. Quote, there are very powerful people who want to keep you out, he told Lake in a conversation last March. Jeff DeWitt told her that the people were willing to put their money where their mouth is. This is about defeating Trump. And I think it's a bad, bad thing for our country, she replied. These people are corrupt. It's about control. After Lake asked what the powerful people wanted from her, he said, they want you to stay out for 2 years. I'll tell you what I can offer you. DeWitt continued, saying that there were companies that could, quote, just put her on the payroll to keep her out of the Senate race in the state. When Lake pushed back against the idea, DeWitt asked, just say, is there a number at which? Lake cut in saying, I can be bought? That's what it's about. After insisting to Lake that she could have a bigger voice in politics and to take the offer of the bribe, Lake said that doing so would be immoral and she wouldn't be able to look at herself in the mirror the same. DeWitt insisted that Lake not tell anyone the conversation happened. Now, it's a 10-minute recording. I don't want to play everything, but I do want to play the end part where he fears assassination. But I also want to point out, in it he mentions, you can be a big personality. You can be a big voice. It is about defeating Donald Trump. That's why they want her out for 2 years. They want Trump to lose. After that, then you can do whatever you want. Let me play the last portion of this. And you can hear it for yourself. This stuff's wild. And okay, let me refresh because X video always does that. And let's try again.
What's about DeSantis? Getting DeSantis in. Getting DeSantis is getting Trump out.
You're reading too deep into it.
Well, let's see what happens. Maybe my case will go through. Maybe they'll do the right thing.
I hope so.
I do too. That's my first goal.
Yeah.
But they can't have me in the governor's office because then we're going to root out some of this corruption.
But again, it's like...
You know what it is? The people don't get to choose their elected officials unless they're pre-approved by the swamp. And the swamp doesn't pre-approve of me.
You need a strong party to help
I think you should go public with this and then say, hey,
no.
These people don't want to, they don't want,
And then I turn my key in my car and I just... I like my car.
Then I turn my key in my car and it goes... Very powerful people sent this man to bribe Carrie Lake into dropping out because they want their pre-approved candidates to be put in place and they were going to pay her off so that she would stop trying. And this man says if he goes public, they will kill him with a car bomb. Now, maybe he doesn't literally mean car bomb, but no. Then I turn my key in my car and I think the implication is very, very obvious. Who are these powerful people? You know, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you guys. We've been swatted several times. I know there are crazy people out there. People ask me if I'm ever concerned about my safety, and I always say I'm less concerned with Antifa than I am with the crazy man who thinks I broke into his house to steal all of his spoons. Crazy people see you and they say crazy things. I don't know anyone that I fear in the immediate would try to kill me. And I don't know if anyone else here or anyone's been on the show would in the immediate say someone will kill me if I do a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is a guy who's saying, if I take this action, they will kill me. He knows who they are. He knows the powerful people that have put him up to this. He knows them. Someone sent him there. And he thinks, if I cross them, they'll kill me. Who's he working with?
Well, it's crazy. You know, it's fascinating because we hear about, you know, the deep state, the swamp, all these things. We hear about these kind of conversations taking place in politics. And then here we are, we get a firsthand, you know, listen to this. And so it's one thing to hear about it. I think it's totally different when you actually listen to the video and you hear that. It kind of put it in a new context for me, and I'm sure many others out there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's only breeding more distrust in the system that's already there. And I think in some ways, the political theater has gotten so dramatic that people really equate it to what was that show that had Frank on it, and and like all these DC sort of not like dramedies
House of
where it's
Cards,
like House of Cards. Thank you. They think anything could happen, but then things like this come out and they say, "Oh,
it's all real.
It's all real."
Yeah.
And I think that's ultimately plays into sort of this elite group's power, right? They want you to be scared.
Well,
hey, nobody ever came here and offered me a bunch of money for any of this stuff. What's going on?
If this is what's going on, then we have a situation in American politics that is a real problem. This is what we see in Russia. We see this kind of thing in Ukraine. We see this kind of thing where people are just taken out. You never hear from them again in China. If we have a situation where we have political operatives operating behind the scenes to take people out if they do a misstep, then I think most Americans would not be prepared for that reality.
It sounds like Carrie Lake recorded this because of the volume of her voice and the volume of Jeff's voice. I'm wondering why it is it took this long for it to get released.
You know, maybe she just now felt comfortable doing it. I don't know, but it's crazy too because this is Carrie Lake. This isn't some no-name politician. So the fact that they felt comfortable enough to go to someone like Carrie Lake and have that conversation, what are they doing to other people that's just coming in
desperate
DC?
Enough?
Yeah.
More than enough. I am more enough to understand that how crazy a lot of these people are trying to make the politicians the way they are, because it is crazy out there how certain things are they're trying to show that we, the people, don't have anything to do. And that's kind of, in my opinion, that's kind of sick. That we do have stuff to do. And that we need to check a lot of things out, for sure. And that's why I had both parties. I talked about both parties in that in what you're seeing, because it is needed. So I'm gonna do a part 2 on this per se, really, because I did have more, and we'll get back to that situation, of course. But tonight, I just wanted to point out that both parties have their problems, have their infighting, they have their things. So there's no perfect in this at all. Okay, there's no perfect in none of this. But again, we gotta make sure what we're voting for. Now, I am sorry, I'm gonna bring up more topical stuff next week in part 2 of We Need a Third Party, because we need rational thinking. Sometimes you need gray. It's not everything is black and white. Sometimes you need a conversation like we're doing right now, as we got 28,520 people in the building. Thank you very much. It's better than last week with 8. But again, remember to share Project Over Mike with your friends, everything. Again, if you're listening to this or watching this on a spot like a YouTube or Facebook or Nico, whatever, and it has a description, inside the description, on the lower part of the description, we do have a link tree where you can listen to our audio stuff like on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and many more places, like I said before. Or go to YouTube and watch, set it back and share with others. Subscribe, share, get the program out. Hey, I have no problem talking to people, because again, it's called Project Over Mike for a reason. So I would like to, once again, to thank you guys out there for giving me your time, your mind, your eyes, your ears, listen to the situation. And again, we're going to continue further more in next week about this. So hope you guys stay warm. Hope you remember to take care of yourself, then take care of your family, take care of your neighbors, and then take care of your community. That's the best way to do things. Of course, then also remember, evil comes in all shapes, size, color, creed. Evil's evil. It makes no difference what it is. And last but not least, of course, remember, people are stupid, individuals smart. Be the smart individual. This is your host, Tig, for Project Over Mike. Again, hope you guys are doing well. Catch us next week. Next Thursday, we're back with part 2 of Wanted, a Third Party, because in that show, I want to talk about more of, this is more about the parties and what the perception people have. But next week's show, we're going to talk about what really actually is happening in America. The real problems. From the immigration, open borders, the crime, inflation, high rent, high everything. We're talking about that next week. All right? Hope you guys have a good night. Catch you next time. Be safe. Peace out.